on my kids. My microphone was off and nobody heard me, and I talked for 10 minutes and it was just off, so that was fun. um, but I wanted to get on and talk about what's been going on since I had done a previous video when my 14-year-old was auditioning to get into a performing arts charter school, and I was talking about all the things that was bringing up for me in my life, and making me think about life choices and why we're doing what we're doing and all that good stuff. And yeah, so I wanted to give an update. As a lot of you have known that I've been homeschooling my kids for the past 3.5 years, other than my 14-year-old going to this charter school. She did get in, and she started there August 21st. And she's been thriving, I would say, mostly. I wouldn't say that she's met some really good friends yet, but I mean, she's acing all her classes. She got into one of their musicals, which was a big deal for her. And so mostly things are going really good. I'm super incredibly proud of her. I can't even express I'm just in awe of her, of, being taken out of school in 4th grade, well, at the end of 4th grade, and then homeschooling for 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then going back for 8th and just like crushing it. Like, here's me thinking like, oh, she might need, some math tutoring or something. So anyone whose kids are in like traditional school and they feel like they need a break, but they're nervous that they'll get behind or something, I don't see that in my experience as the case. I'm sure every kid's different, but I didn't do any formal lessons with her. We did cyber school for 3 months at the end of last year because of her wanting to go into this charter school. And that was it. And she kind of just got up to speed real quick. So I think that kids learn regardless of us trying to force them to learn, so that's cool. I will say that her anxiety has increased so this is an interesting comparison. When she was homeschooling, but she was kind of like ready to do something different, I feel like she was experiencing some mental tension of like boredom, wanting to do something new but not knowing what she wanted to do, having a conflict of like, does she want to go back into school or did she not, and various things. So there was some anxiety there, and now the anxiety has kind of morphed into like performance. It's so much like, obviously, performing arts charter school, so she's got that going for her, where she has to like audition, and they are teaching them like, if they wanted to become a professional actor or actress, like this is what they'd have to be doing, this is how auditions are, this is how you're expected to like keep a good reputation. And so it's good. Like, if she wants to get into that industry, like they're definitely showing her what it's like, right? But it's like, it brings on a whole nother level of anxiety on top of being the firstborn and already like having some people pleasing tendencies / like wanting to, achieve, perform, get good grades. Like, that's already been instilled in her because she had that background of going to traditional school up till 4th grade. Not only traditional school, but Catholic school for the first few years, and then only 1 year of public school. But anyways, so she is experiencing some anxiety around like what's obviously like, and some of this is totally normal preteen, teen stuff, but like, it's on steroids, because it's not just like, how do people see me? What do people think of me? How do I look to people? But if you're auditioning and you're going out in front of like a director and a choreographer and singing and all that, it's like on steroids of like her self-image of like what she wants, how she wants to be seen, and she wants to be picked for these parts and all this stuff. Anyways, so it's been a very informative journey. And she's very independent with it all. She just does it all because she knows that she chose to do this. She knows that she doesn't have to do this. So that's huge as far as like her getting herself up in the morning, completing her assignments, Basically keeping it all together, you know. I obviously support her, but she definitely takes the responsibility that this is her thing and she's doing it. So that's really cool. Now with the other two kids, my 10-year-old and 7-year-old, you know, if you were following me last year, I was like, what are we going to do next year? Izzy's maybe going to this school. And that was the other thing. We didn't know for so long. So everything was just been up in the air. But so there's so many options for school. We were homeschooling, and not only were we homeschooling, but we were unschooling, which means like you just learn from life. You don't do formal lessons unless the kid brings you a math book and says, hey, let's look at this lesson. Then of course you would do it with unschooling. But unschooling is child-led. Other than that, you're including them in the tasks of life that you do actually need math skills for. Like you need your baking, your shopping, your trying to figure out money problems, your money math problems, trying to decide how long it's going to take to get somewhere. Do you have time to do this? You know, so you do those life math problems with unschooling, and of course you end up learning reading because the reading is part of life. Everyone needs to read. So you do all these things, but they're not organized. They're not formal. They're not sit down and learn this right now. They're just kind of like free flowing, just like life is. So we were doing that. And then when my oldest decided she wanted to go to this charter school, I thought, okay, well, let's see where we are as far as where school thinks we're supposed to be, as far as like what levels the kids are at and that kind of thing. So we did a cyber charter school last spring for a few months, and the kids did fine. It was taxing on us because since we were still, you know, we still wanted to socialize and see people, and so we had activities that we were doing and going to, and so we had to work that around the cyber school schedule. And but we did it, and the kids were actually fine, and I was like, wow, that was a relief to see that they're still learning through unschooling and they didn't seem behind and everything was good. But still, I was thinking like, well, you know, Ava and Zach, well, Izzy's going to be doing this, and like, what are we going to be doing with Ava and Zach? So we started doing not unschooling, but just like homeschooling with lessons and with, you know, sit down and this is what we do for school, and that was fine. And we did some OutSchool classes, which OutSchool is a great resource. They have a ton of different classes. You can just kind of pick and choose. You can jump in for a month and then jump out. Amazing resource for homeschooling, or even if you're wanting to add some enrichment to traditional schooling or whatever. And then we discovered this hybrid school option, which sounded really interesting because through doing what we were doing, I was realizing and really tuning into my kids. And while I do think unschooling and homeschooling was an absolute necessary part of our journey, to take a break from, you know, the 5-day a week, 6-hour a day, you know, school day, I do think that my kids enjoy most of them. Like definitely Ava, my middle. I think Izzy enjoys her school because it's a performing arts school, and she knows she's really there for the arts, and that's what the focus is on. She certainly didn't mind, you know, not having very many organized classes when we were not doing that. But Ava always, even during homeschooling, always enjoyed and asked for like organized classes with teachers, and she thrives more in that environment, even with like a group of peers. Like there was this homeschool center we would go to, and it was wonderful, and it had some organized classes, but it was mostly like a free-flowing like flock of children, and they would bebop around and just do, you know, they didn't have organized activities. They were just doing their own thing. And Zach was like, that was right up his alley. He absolutely loved it. He would be outside with these kids. He would be inside. They would do video games. They would play outside. They would do Legos. They would do art. You know, they would just do whatever. And it seemed to be that Ava and Zach really, or I'm sorry, Izzy and Zach really were fine with that, but Ava was never fine with that. She was like, what are we doing here? What am I supposed to be doing? And my mom's here, so I'm gonna be with her. But like, if there wasn't an organized thing for someone to say, okay, Ava, this is what we're doing now, like, she was just stuck to me most of the time. And like, you could just tell she was like very uncomfortable. So anyways, we found this hybrid school, which there are a few of them. And if you never looked into that, it's like your kids are still registered for homeschool, but they can attend this hybrid school. It's really flexible. Like, it could be 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week for a few hours, and they will kind of like continue your learning. So it's kind of like a partnership with the parents. Like, we're gonna teach them, this is the curriculum we're using, and we teach them on these days, and then you take it home and take it from there on the other days. And I really liked the one we found because it offered, you know, some classes in the morning. It offered the kids like a little break in between the classes. Even the older kids, like even the 4th graders, like got to take a break, and then they have a nice long lunch and recess, which I think is very important. And so they can decompress, they can socialize, they can do whatever they want, and then they have another class like after lunch. So the way we do it, there's like so many different ways to do it, but we do it from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we did decide and commit to doing that. And I think it's good for Zach because he will get support in his reading, which he really needs. And I think it's good for Ava because she really enjoys like the organized teacher-led activities and classes. And so I think it's really good. However, I'm learning some of the reasons that like maybe were kind of hidden from me of like why I wasn't why I was so like I feel like I was really against for a while, like, is he going back to this charter school and me putting the kids in this program, because there are a lot of, once you homeschool and you realize like how much freedom that you can have, and that you don't really have to, there's like things that you think when you've never done homeschooling, when you've never heard of him, when you've never thought that that was like an option for you, and then you think like traditional school is the only option, you kind of just start to put up with things that are like, this doesn't make any sense, but we kind of have to do this, right? For me, it was always like getting up early, and with the traditional school, like having like a tiny amount of time for lunch, and like at traditional schools, like, why don't they go outside more? They're, you know, and they're on technology a lot in traditional schools. So those are like some little things for me. But also, like, what if your kid like absolutely hates history or something, or absolutely hates something that they have to do at school that they don't really have to do it? Like, once you do homeschool, you're like, oh, you don't really have to do like there's so many things that you don't have to do. You can really curate your own, you know, life of education, and this is what you really want to learn about. And oftentimes what you really want to learn about can incorporate all the things that like you're separating at school, like you're separating like math and reading and all that stuff. But if you have a kid who really loves to learn about something like Japanese culture, like you can incorporate all the subjects into that, and then they're still engaged in their learning, but they're not like having to sit through an hour-long class of something that they're like completely bored about. Okay, so once you do that, it's really hard to like go back. to the other way. So yeah, it's only the second week of us doing this hybrid school program, and I am committed to it. I am going to see it through. We signed up for a 10-week session, so I am going to see it through. But I'm feeling the edges of why I was doing, why I was lagging on jumping on board with something like this, even though I could tell Ava and Zach like wanted to do something different. They were ready. It was still like, ugh. For example, today I'm sitting here actually in this Target parking lot because I was volunteering. I volunteer on Tuesday mornings there, and so I only have a little bit of time before I have to go back and get them. So I just came here. I'm gonna go in and buy some gum soon. But Zach, I noticed at lunch, I was not helping with Zach's class. I was helping with other classes, and then it was lunchtime, and I was allowed to go, and I decided to like just go say goodbye to Zach. So I did, and he was like sitting there, like sitting next to some older girl he wasn't even talking to at lunch, but he was just looking down into his lunchbox and just crying. There was like just tears like dripping into his lunchbox, and I was like, what's wrong? What's going on? And it turns out like he is dealing with this kid who's being mean to him, and he's trying to make friends, but this kid is like kind of like the ringleader of the boys, and if this kid doesn't like him, then the other boys are shy of being his friend. And oh my god, it was like breaking my heart wide open. And he was like, why do I have to be here? Why are we doing this? I just want to go home, and it was like breaking my heart because like this is legit like my choice. I don't feel like I have to send them. I don't feel like I'm not someone who has a job and I like, oh, you have to go here because I have to go to work. Like it's completely my choice to send them here and to have this experience, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm so sorry. Now I know that kids go through things, and I know that this is important because we'll learn resilience and how to work it out and work through it. But I think deep in my heart I knew like he's a super sensitive, amazing kid, and I kind of like had a feeling like, putting him out there with all the, I mean, not that he hasn't been socializing. He's been socializing like crazy. He clicked with all the kids at the homeschool center, and like he's like never had a problem. And maybe in my head or like subconsciously, like school equals like bullying and weird stuff. I don't know, but that this has happened already in the second week. But we worked it out, and after I felt very blessed to be there and to be able to be a witness to it, and to like for him to know that like I was there, and even though I said to him like, hey, I'm getting ready to leave, he was like, no, please, don't leave. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not then gonna leave right now, like I'm gonna sit here with you, you're upset. And so that was very amazing, and I'm very grateful that I was able to sit there with him. I said, let's go sit over here and eat. So we went over to another table, and we're sitting there. Well, he wasn't eating, and neither was I. I was hungry, but then I heard my heart was hurting for him. And then it all came out like that. What he thinks that started the whole thing was this kid is allergic to peanuts. I didn't know there was anybody with a peanut allergy in there. Zach obviously didn't know. He had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so like at lunchtime, the one day last week, this kid probably didn't say it that meanly, but Zach is very sensitive. So like he was just kind of like, I can't eat, I can't be near you. And then him and a bunch of the kids got up and ran away because Zach got a peanut butter sandwich. So once I found that out, which I was so thankful, because like, sometimes kids will come home from school and they don't even remember. Like their day is packed full of all these experiences, and sometimes and even as an adult, sometimes you don't even know like, why am I still upset or so upset. It's hard to like for them to articulate to us. So the fact that I was able to get that articulation was key. And then we were able to find like a teacher and say like, hey, this happened with the peanut allergy. Maybe there's like a little tiff between these boys. Can we clear it up? And then once we talked about it with the teacher, with the other boy, and we figured it out. And like, here's me, I'm still like upset and like, oh my God, my baby boy is going through this. But like Zach seemed totally fine after that. He was a little bit apprehensive to like, for me to leave and go to the store, but he was like, okay. So I think he's fine now. I think I'm the one with all the distress and the emotions, and like probably it's bringing up stuff from me from school that I don't even remember. And yeah, so it's a lot. But that's the update on my kids right now. If you ever have questions about the different kinds of school options, I am your expert because I have now investigated like thoroughly everything. But anyways, thanks for listening. I've been jabbering for 20 minutes now, and I will be back on soon. I'm going to keep giving updates and sharing what we're going through because I think it's important as moms, as humans, to know that we're not alone. We're not crazy, you know. Other people are having experiences, and not a lot of people are willing to talk about the deep stuff and the emotional stuff and the what I feel is the real stuff. So I'm going to keep talking about it. All right. See you guys. Bye.